Disclaimer, this video contains opinions and spoilers of Hollow Knight and Hollow Knight Silksong. Your as advised. Spoiler alert, this whole video is my attempt at critical analysis of Hollow Knight Silksong, so feel free to leave your criticisms in the comments below. And there's no better place to start this video with other than with the Weavers. Weavers were evolved by Grandmother Silk, because Grandmother Silk was desperate to have children in any shape or form, and since she's a pale being and also kind of an abusive parent, she really wanted to control them. So she unnecessarily lied that she gave birth to them, and she lied that they were divine, and also she gave them silk that she also used to control them. But then one weaver got the truth out that they were not divine in fact, and that she did not give birth to them, and that weaver was the first sinner. And during the kind of a Weaver civil war thing that was caused by the truth getting out, where they imprisoned Grandmother Silk and created Citadel, the first sinner was not freed. The reason being the fact that first sinner challenged the whole Weaver supremacist narrative created by the Grandmother Silk, and the Weavers did not like not being divine, so instead they kept first sinner imprisoned, and then they just straight up made a whole Weaver supremacist state that we know as Farloom. So in Farloom we can see deification of the Weavers, because of course they wanted to keep the myth of them being divine and superior to everyone else. So first they got bugs to serve them by using their magic silk and their melody. You can even say their silk and song. And after they got a bunch of bugs to serve them, they of course built Citadel, then they did a lot of other stuff, and the main thing that they did was division of labor into castes. And these three castes of Citadel, well, the three main castes of Citadel are conductors, keepers, and the architects. And the architects is pretty self-explanatory. They just build everything, they make the Citadel tick, they make everything work, they invent new things. Basically, they're just blue-collar workers and the fucking military-industrial complex combined into a single monstrous entity that uses souls of the deceased workers to power the automatons found in the cogworks and in other places. Speaking of workers, they're horribly abused, they're extremely underpaid, they're overexploited by the Citadel because they have to, not only they get basically no cash, but also they just have to spend a lot of money on basic necessities like having to rest on a bench that costs money, by the fact that even confessing your sins costs money, by the fact that they just can't simply rest at all. That's already fucked up. Look at the low. He basically has no time to rest, and he is really propagandized by the uppercase that go, oh, you will get your stuff, surely, yeah. Well, speaking of the uppercase, let's look at the keepers. And honestly, I have nothing to say about the keepers. Yeah, they control the flow of information, but not to the insane extent that we would usually expect. They just don't let the ancient secret texts that basically include classified information about some CIA type shit that Citadel did. Now they just keep this shit out of the public consciousness, and that's pretty much it. And also they keep sacred texts and this type of shit. So yeah, they usually just do bureaucracy shit and clergy stuff like sacred text keeping and psalm reading, I don't know. And though that's usually the conductors doing. Oh, speaking of conductors, the conductor caste basically rules Falloom, and by that I mean they just do all the propaganda. They lure more and more pilgrims to the Citadel, so they would be either cheap labor or more capitalists to help exploit the working class in more new different ways. They're the ones who give orders, who exploit the working class, and generally they're the reason that we were captured, and they're the reason why so many pilgrims flock to the Citadel. But not only promises of the Holy Land and riches are the reason reason for the migration to Citadel. The other reason is way more putrid and way more depressing, and it is climate change. Also, before I forget to talk about them, the wardens of the slab are basically the fucking untouchable case because of their quote-unquote grave sin that was forgotten to time, yet still the guilt is felt. Like, come on. The Citadel needs to be viewed as holy, and it shall have no undesirables. So of course those who punish the undesirables are themselves undesirables. Since nobody shall see the cruelty of Citadel, everybody must view Citadel as the holy land. Yada yada yada, you get the idea. So yeah, let's get back to the environmental impact of the Citadel. Citadel's impact on the lands of Falun can be seen from east to west, from north to south, from the sands of Carrick and blasted steppes to the bile water and putrefied ducts, from the Citadel itself to the bone bottom on which it stands. Basically, Citadel's impact on the environment is deep and varied, so let's start at the bottom, at the bone bottom. And well, the bone bottom is pretty self-explanatory due to it being comprised literally of carcasses of pilgrims who ventured out to get to the Citadel on their pilgrimage. But as I've said earlier, this is not the only place where Citadel's impact can be seen, as you've seen from the footage and from the video game itself. Bone Bottom is definitely not the worst case of Citadel impacting the environment, because we've got way more places that have fallen to the Citadel's environmental impact. And since the footage has been shown Groll this whole time, let's talk about Bilewater. And by Bilewater I mean Sinners Road, Greymore, Bilewater, exhaust organ, and putrefied ducts as a one singular thing, because all of it has been impacted deeply by the pollution coming from the exhaust organ, which deeply impacts material conditions of everyone in the area, not only by impacting their health directly via mutations, but also by limiting their food sources, as can be seen in Greymore and the Sinners Road. Out of these 5 places, Greymore is both the luckiest and the unluckiest place at the same time. And well, the reason for it being the luckiest place, it's obvious that it's not polluted as the other places, but for the unluckiest, first of all, instead of attending to their lush farmlands that they once had, they are forced into recycling dregs into more silk, and to enforce that, the Citadel uses the Moor Wing as their enforcement agent, PMC creature that forces the citizens of the Greymoor to, well, recycle the dregs instead of being independent and using their farmlands for their own sake. Instead, they're just recyclers that can't do shit without the Citadel because of it, because they're literally forced. They're just enslaved, lol. Like, why am I beating around the bush? They're just enslaved. And before we go to the west of the Citadel, Verdania got completely destroyed by the Silken Curse of Grandmother Silk, so yeah, kind of a different case. Less of an environmental impact, no pollution, just straight up mind control. And I have no fucking idea how to transition this to the sense of Carrick and Blessed Steps, so let's just go there and observe a potential explanation to why the place that is below this mountain of parkour and torture, this place below the goddamn mountain is so fucking dry. Like, what the fuck? This mountain has literally a glacier here. Like, what the hell is going on? And I, as many other Silksong enjoyers, have a theory that basically there is a dam between Mount Fay and the sands of Carrick, which explains why Citadel has so much water, and explains why the fuck sands of Carrick are sands of Carrick instead of Coral Tower, or Reefs of Carrick, or whatever the fuck it would be called otherwise. And I just realized that I got something wrong with Verdania, because in Memoriam there is a panel that is like, oh, forget Verdania to time and stuff, so yeah, I wanted to make a joke about like, haha, Citadel Citadel can destroy more than one civilization, whilst Grandmother Silk destroyed multiple, but no, Citadel got to Verdania too, so... But Grandmother Silk destroyed the civilization of Ants because of the Silken Curse, and also destroyed the Citadel, so I guess Citadel goes 2-for-2 with the Grandmother Silk, in a sense of them both being genocidal monstrous entities that destroy multiple civilizations. Okay, and while we're at it, let's talk about Grandmother Silk and her relationship with Lace. Because she fucking abandons Phantom in the exhaust organ, which is unfortunately not the focus right now. So let's get back to Grandmother Silk and her reason for Lace's creation. And the reason is basically Grandmother Silk wanted to create a child that would not disobey her, that would stay by her side, that would be loyal, that would not abandon her. And the most sinister part, the way that she went about creating such child. There's nothing wrong about creating an artificial being. There's everything wrong about making this being completely dependent on you and not being able to grow up properly like a normal human person, or a normal arthropod person, since we're talking about Hollow Knight, Silksong. And that's not the only problem about Lace's existence. The other problem is Phantom. Phantom was Lace's sister and was also made from silk, which is extremely important considering that Lace is extremely insecure about her silken nature, which makes it even more tragic because she's dependent on a person who abandoned her sister and her only friend, and the only person who could relate to her tragedy of being an artificial creature that is completely dependent on its creator for sustenance and life. But Phantom was abandoned because she aged, and aging was a big no-no in Grandmother Silk's book because of two reasons. Reason one being she didn't want to lose her child to death, and reason two being way more sinister, and that reason being she didn't want to lose them in terms of losing control over the children, because it happened once already and they fucking imprisoned her for being a control freak. And since Grandmother Silk was already an authoritarian parent, she came up with some ideas to make it easier to control her children, so she just made the children from silk. So all that sown seeds of depression in Lace's mind, which made her hopeless and basically turned her to a doomer mode mentality, which absolutely killed her belief in a positive change in the world. Basically, Lace becoming depressed is the reason she became corrupted by the void in the third act. Basically, her depression caused her inaction, and thus caused her to be complacent in the destruction of Falun. And just like Lace, many people are stuck in that doomer mindset that they can't do anything about their situation. And there are reasons for that mindset existing. There are reasons for why someone might think this way. But just like with the diseases, we must fight with the cause of the doomer mindset. And the cause of this mindset is late-stage capitalism, and also the rise of fascism that is also caused by late-stage capitalism, so yeah. And since not doing anything about fascism is basically being part of the problem, what do we do? What do we do against oppressive power structures like capitalism, patriarchy, and white supremacy? And the one and only correct answer is we fight it, and we fight it in many different ways. And one of the best and easiest ways to do it is being human, being compassionate, being curious, being artistic, helping each other, organizing, just actually caring about other people. And we pretty much do it throughout the whole Silksong if we want the good ending, of course. Organize, build a community, help each other with education, help each other with material conditions in general, like, I don't know, let each other borrow books, tools, I don't know, cars, anything. Just you should help each other, ignoring the capitalism. Well, not ignoring obviously, but despite the capitalism, because oppressive power structures want you to be separated. The classic imperial thing of divide and conquer is applied to everyone. So if we unite, we can get rid of oppressive power structures that chain us. And not only capitalism, like all the oppressive power structures are all about the fucking division of people, because patriarchy doesn't want women in contact with other women. Also, obviously, it doesn't want women to be like considered human and equal to men, and also it wants gender to be strict and hierarchical and fixed. That's why it hates trans people, because they also not only transition from one gender to another, but also transgress against the whole patriarchy in general. And also there is a toxic masculinity problem that I'm not gonna get into right now. So let's go to the white supremacy, which is built on racial and financial division of people combined. And it's very important that you combine those two, because the financial division would reinforce the racial division and vice versa. For example, racism against black people in America. At first, in the US, there is no such thing as just white people. At first, it's like everyone was either Irish, this, that, whatever. And soon the poor white people and poor black people understood that they have way more in common with each other than with their rich white guys. But the rich white people realized that they had to do something about it, because otherwise they wouldn't be rich anymore. So they just gave some of the privilege to other white people, and they completely downtrodden the black people, making them enslaved, worsening their financial conditions and, well, material conditions in general, to this fucking day. From slavery to Jim Crow laws, from Jim Crow laws to separate but equal bullshit, from separate but equal bullshit to redlining, which was present throughout the whole time, but whatever. From that to fucking COINTELPRO and other police ways to fuck over the black population. Later, the fucking crack epidemic. Basically, the police and just the government in general used every single way to screw over the black population to keep them as the underclass, because they were never meant to be a proper kind of a US citizen. They were always meant to be an underclass, because US is a racist fucking creature of a country. Okay, now let's talk about the thing that caused the transatlantic slave trade itself, capitalism. Capitalism not just thrives but flourishes off of your division, because if you are divided, then you need more money because you can share resources with each other. If you are divided, you have less power, and thus you are more dependent on capitalists, because you just don't have the power to improve your own material conditions without the job that capitalists give you. And despite you doing all the job, they take the fruits of your labor. Basically, rich people pound and cream you metaphorically and sometimes not metaphorically, and yet they want you to blame the other guy that just has a slightly browner skin and he is a trans guy. That's it. They want you to blame the guy instead of blaming them for you living in a shit box. Because here's the fun fact, this planet has enough resources for everyone to thrive and some more, but these fuckers just hoard everything. These fuckers destroy our planet. These fuckers starve out entire populations. These fuckers shift blame to minorities. These fuckers support the disinformation campaigns that say that nuclear energy is bad, even though it's like the best thing we have right now, and the green energy in general is the best thing we have right now. Basically, we all need to organize, we all need to riot, because riot is the voice of the unheard, and the elites definitely don't want to hear us, so we would need to riot. And not only that, we need a revolution, because with this system, this is just gonna repeat itself multiple times until we're all fucking dead, or until we just get a proper revolution. So let's just get a proper revolution now, until it's over for the planet, and until I go on another tirade that will definitely get me put on the list. Goodbye everyone. Like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell. Hope you all liked the video. Okay, bye.
Dans la fonction